Welcome back to my channel. This is YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me on YouTube, Facebook. We are now here all together in one happy family. So let's get the damn thing started. Manipulation. Yeah, we're going to talk tonight about manipulation and why this is a huge part of the female pathology. My daughter asked me just now, what is pathology, mommy? Of course, in the medical field, pathology is a diagnosis of a disease. I'm not saying that Black women are a disease, but we tend to have some very specific sick ways of being, myself included. And I think that this is the reason why I advocate for therapy so much, is because one of the major issues in in the last conversation, if I go back to my notes, yeah, when I talk about the Black culture, Black women wanting to be white women, our struggle with our culture and the subculture that has been created through living in the West, and how that is not actually the same as our Black African culture. And that is part of the reason why we want to untangle a lot of these issues, right? So I'm not here to really discuss too much about oppression and slavery and racism and colorism and all that good stuff. No, we're going to save that for the Patreon, because the Patreon discussing these kinds of intellectual conversations in more grave detail. Why I want to talk tonight about manipulation is because it is one of the tangibles, one of the ways that we can identify some of the bad behavior that we Black African women or women of Black African descent have adopted as a coping mechanism that no longer actually serves a good purpose, actually. That is annoying the crap out of people around us. This is the reason. There are a few other things. The lack of cooperation, health issues, and yeah. So I think those two are the other two big ones. But the first number one is manipulation. Why women are so manipulative. And you might ask yourself, Nanda, what do you mean by manipulative? Like, you think of evil stepmother when you think of manipulation. You think of, we just finished watching Bridgerton. You think about the redhead woman, lady, what was her name? I don't remember her name. Oh, sorry. My daughter don't want me to be spoiler alert. But yeah, so these are some of the issues that I find very interesting. So we're going to break it down. What is manipulation? We got to talk about it, ladies. Refusing to change. All right. What do you mean by refusing to change? It means that you um, get some advice on a way of being that is not serving you, that is not serving your community, your relationships with your children, your family members, and you refuse to accept that you um, that you did something wrong, right? You don't want to change this thing about yourself. And we hear people say this all the time. That's just the way that I am. I've always been this way and I will continue to be this way. This creates issues because if somebody's telling you that you're doing a particular thing that is making them feel not justified or not valued in some way, you're not being direct with this person. And I'm going to give you more examples of that. And they come to you and they try to say to you like that, or maybe they try to say to you in a nice way because they know that you're going to make it about you being right, then that is a huge red flag. It's also a very big issue of, oh, we are not doing this. Can you hang on a second? I got to pause. And thank you very much. Um, Using our children to get back at their fathers. I can't believe people still do that. Like that's an actual thing. We just recently watched public figures using their children to get back at their fathers, or just being lackadaisical in their parenting in a way to rub the father the wrong way. And I understand relationships are complicated, and some of us we pick without really thinking too much about what we're picking and how we're getting involved. We pick without really thinking about what are the implications should I have to answer to this person in 4 or 5 years? Should I have to explain this person to someone else in the next 3 to 4 to 5 years, right? Like, and people are gonna want to say, yeah, but Nana, I was in a bad place. I wasn't that person then, and this and that. Look, I think that a lot of the times we want to say that we didn't understand certain things because of age constraints or because nobody raised us or whatever the situation might be. But I think that based on the conversations that I have had with women, this is the type of manipulation that is it is an even more insidious type of manipulation because it is a type of manipulation that does not take responsibility for its actions. We, at a very, very young age, women, have a very good understanding about right and wrong. Put a shirt on. Put a pants on, please. Put a pants on, please. Oh, Lord. I have a pair of blue short pants somewhere that are yours. Yeah, or a skirt. So we we are vindictive. All right. Being vindictive, I think, is nobody's above being vindictive. So I just want to make sure that we are understanding that I'm not calling people out like, yeah, I know you. I remember you back in the day, when I wore that nice, beautiful white dress and you accidentally spilled wine on it. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a more subtle way of, perfect, thank you. A more subtle way of being that is actually, um, that you are going to do something to the person, that that you're going to do something to make a person upset and you do it anyways. That is vindictive. You willingly accept the fact that this is going to upset this person, or you know that this is a sore point or a trigger for that person, and that's why you do it. That's being vindictive. So women who like to make their partners jealous by flirting with or talking to other guys or constantly bringing up their exes. There are some celebrities whose names I will not mention who cause a serious gaslighting, social mental breakdown. What? Weißt du schon, wer ich meine? Also, I'm still high, yes. Okay, move it along now. I'm not gonna call the person's name because I'm so done talking about this couple. But yeah, this is what happens when you have this level of vindication. And all of these kinds of behaviors, these manipulative kinds of behaviors, come because nobody raised you. Yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes. We gonna go there. Nobody raised you. I remember this particular young lady, who was in the social media. Who, I'm not social media. This particular group, the celebrity couple that I'm talking about right now, whose mother was a drug addict. Who, she was more her mother's friend. Oh yes. Oh yes. We're gonna go there. Mother was a drug addict because she talks about it openly. Oh, she used to have to take care of her mom and make her mom hangover treatments and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like this is public knowledge. Anyways, I'm gonna have to rearrange my living room because my daughter obviously needs more space to jump around. Um, Picking men without standards or having clear conversations of vetting before getting romantically involved with men. I actually did an entire series on my Patreon on how to vet men and the repercussions of not vetting, but this is actually a form of manipulation. We are not clear, so we're in gray area relationships and we wait too long to clarify. Guilty, guilty. I'm not talking to anybody else but myself. I'm preaching to the choir. If the shoe fits, some of you out there, please wear it, Cinderella, because yeah, it happens where we put ourselves in situations where we are not clear about the general purpose and direction of the relationships. We put ourselves in situations where we are in relationships with people and we don't have a collective vision as to what is the direction in which the relationship is going. You mean to tell me, Nihanda, that I can ask that question from the beginning? Honey child, if you don't ask that question from the very beginning, you are manipulative, because you have already indicated and recognized that there are problems in this person or things that you will not be able to compromise with later, but you end up staying with this person anyways. Hoping, maybe your hope or desire, again, I'm not a psychologist or a clinician, that this person is going to change because of some efforts that you will later on make. And that really never happens. We end up having to accept that this person's not going to change. The pain of the staying with this person is too great, and it's easier to just leave. And that is what ends up happening in relationships where you're not clear from the beginning as to what you want, what he wants, where this is going, and people feel like media. Uh, okay, maybe media does influence that we don't talk about these things from the very beginning, but if you meet a dude and he's willing and ready to answer these questions from the get-go, then you know that he's serious. And most guys don't want to answer these kind of questions from the very beginning. You just tell him bye. Of course, that would require that that you have a time limit, you have social constraints, you have other options. But if you're betting and vetting on, I'm just going to stick around and see how I could make him believe or think that I'm the one or whatever, that's manipulation. That is a minor, not as great as the others, but that is a form of manipulation. Using people playing the victim. Accepting change, yeah. So how do we accept change? There was another manipulative one that I wanted to talk about. Always having to be right. Ooh, I gotta go to church for this one because I'm literally talking to myself. Like my mirror is standing right here, and I'm just like, yeah, you're fabulous, you're beautiful, but you always have to be right. And that accepting change and always having to be right go simultaneously with one another, because even if somebody says something to you that is hurtful and insulting, or they say something true that ends up being insulting but is also very true about you, if you can look past the insult and really receive that information so that you could better yourself, you would have released tons of baggage from your image. And I know that this is one of the things that we wanted to talk about was ethnic image. This is one of the huge ethnic image issues when it comes to Black women, is that we have to be right. Being right is more important than having peace. And the first time I heard it said like that, it was like somebody just threw cold water in my face, because I couldn't believe that it was that deep for me, but it is. You have to be right, and we get so much into being right that we lose sight of the bigger picture. When one person loses sight of the bigger picture, we can end up sacrificing our entire relationships based on our ego. People who have such a huge ego who cannot be corrected are usually the most manipulative, because they will do practically anything to protect their fragile ego. They need to be in control. Speaking to myself, hello, we're in the crowd. They need to be in control. They have to tell others what to do all the time. Things have to be done their way or no way at all. How do we let go of this? One little step at a time. And practicing self-awareness is the first huge step. That's why I say therapy, because this sense of control usually comes from a lot of things like abandonment, fatherlessness, abuse, and I could check all of those boxes. So control is a sense of coping. The more control I have, the more I feel safe. The safer I feel, the more calm I am. But when you're in a family dynamic and you're dealing with other individuals who have their own personalities and ways of being, like children and a husband, More so the children than the husband, because husbands are pretty simple guys for the most part. They don't want that much, Their peace, their food, and their attention. Whatever that means to your man. Read between the lines, honey. But children are always changing. They're always developing themselves. They're always changing. They may be one way today and a different way tomorrow. And having the ability to not want to control that process is extremely important for the child's development and for your peace of mind, because you'll find yourself in constant anxiety over where and how this is going to go. So practicing self-awareness for me meant therapy. Yes. Oh, yes, it means therapy, because then you start to check and balance what are some of the things that are important. Okay, thank you. And what are some of the things that are important to me? How would an important person handle this particular issue? Is this really, you guys can write this down if you want. Play it back if you want. Is this really worth my time right now? All right. And the step-by-step process, we do a lot of prayer and meditation so that you could develop the muscle of self-awareness. But I found that sitting on a couch with a really good therapist to just help me unpack and clear some of the mess that's going on in my head has really helped me to first look at how ridiculous and crazy, well, I don't like to use that word crazy, but really ridiculous as to how it sounds, because it seems like a good idea when you're involved. But when you unpack it, it's like, oh, wow, I can't make this make sense. I can't make this right. This is wrong. I need to do something about this. And so, um, yeah, listen to yourself and practice self-awareness. Listen to the people around you. Also very hard for me to do. Listen, but listen without waiting for that person to shut up so that you can respond. When you listen without thinking, okay, this is what I want to say, you're really honoring that person's feeling. As ugly or as much as you may disagree, the person feels heard, they feel respected, and then they in turn respect you. Sometimes it means you got to listen, process, walk away, and then come back. And I can do that with most people, but with kids, it's like you got to have some kind of ready-made response, like, so they know that you heard them, like, okay, I hear you, let me think about it. Because if I'm just there, like, thinking, they're like, well, are you listening to me? Yeah, so, you know, so listen and clarify. If you hear something that maybe you raise an eyebrow or makes you feel like, this is something that, is triggering me, then I would usually ask, can I clarify, when you mean this, do that mean that this means this? And then the person can explain further. Letting go of the idea that your happiness is dependent on a particular person, especially if the person has caused you considerable pain. There's a spider behind my computer. Why? Okay, so the person's letting go of the idea of your happiness being dependent on a person means that you are not giving power of your life over to someone else. Your love is not conditional. You can respect if you are in pain over a relationship in such a way that you can honor your feelings and walk away. Because that's what it means sometimes, is honor your feelings. Being in a situation with someone that has disrespected you and staying causes more pain than if you were just to leave. It is easier to just leave a painful situation than stay in a painful situation, because what happens is that that person continues to disrespect you. You gain resentment. That person loses even more respect for you, and you cut off all possibilities of finding happiness elsewhere with someone else or by yourself, which is what we all want, I hope. Be honest. Be honest with the people around you. If I'm upset, I am upset because of this. You can be honest in your, no, seriously, you can be honest with your, you can be honest with your pain without making it about the other person. It's very tricky because when people hurt us, we tend to want to believe they don't like me. And a lot of the times it is that they don't like you. No, some of the times it is that they don't like you. But most of the time, it is a testament to their bad character and their lack of ability to really treat conflict and confrontation in a way that honors them. A person who disrespects another person because they're upset with you or upset with anybody is not a person that you want to be in a relationship with, because people show you who they really are when they're under pressure. And if this person is this way under pressure, then that means that that is who they really are. You don't want to be with somebody like that. And if you're that person, then that's a different kind of manipulation, because instead of saying, I'm under pressure, this is how I feel, I need to do something about how I feel, and that's going to include me leaving or whatever, then that's a high testament of good character. But if you take it out on the people closest to you, and I know a lot of people do this because they're not in touch with their emotions enough, and there are many reasons for that, then that says that this person is not ready for a healthy relationship. Simple. Well, not so simple. Not so simple. But play this back. Let it sink in. Let it, absorb your being. Because the more you listen to this, the more you will start to realize that you can walk away from a situation with integrity if you genuinely practice if you generally practice these practices, then you will find yourself being in more beautiful experiences and more beautiful relationships with those around you and with yourself. Relationships that honor who you are. Relationships that reflect who you really want to be. And if you like this content and you would like to book a session, if you feel like some of what I've been talking about does not apply to you, or you have some kind of anecdote that goes against anything that I'm saying, I would like to hear more about it. Of course, I do this as a profession, so there is a fee. Okay. And it's not a very high fee. Come on, guys. You're talking about investing in your future well-being and your best self. Can't put a price on that. Also, again, The Magic of Thinking Big is my new favorite book. I have a list of 13 books that I will be reviewing and talking about throughout my series on Patreon. So I hope to see you guys on Patreon as well if you guys want more in-depth details about some of the historical reasons around the female Black archetype and all that good stuff. Tonight's video has been brought to you by the Palette House, and I hope to see you guys again next week. Or is it tomorrow? We have the tea with Tiana and Nihanda tomorrow evening. So tune in. We will be breaking down ethnic image, how to be fit for marriage. It's going to be lit. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be off the chain. Okay, thank you so much for all the likes and comments. Thank you, Taurus. I will see you guys tomorrow. Sorry. Bye. Bye. Oh my gosh, I'm still